In this clip, we're going to see Mehdi Hasan completely humiliate and embarrass Stephen Moore, who was Donald Trump's former economic advisor. He's going to utilize Stephen Moore's own book, his own words, to expose his hypocrisy when it comes to Donald Trump versus the words that he wrote in his book about Barack Obama. Now, 100% transparency, this is an older clip, but I just wanted to show it to you guys and then give you guys my thoughts on it as well. Let's get into it, and I'll give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
So these are your words. Because you cannot run up the deficit by $1 trillion. You said, let me quote you, I'm angry because we're borrowing $19 trillion. Trump is now borrowing $22 trillion. Are you angry now or only angry when Obama's president?
The debt as a share of GDP in the last 2 years under Bush and the 8 years under Obama doubled. We borrowed more money in Bush's last 2 years and Obama's 8 years than all other presidents combined.
And the debt as a share of GDP, according to the Congressional Budget Office, is going to hit World War II levels under Trump. Do you recognize this book?
Yeah, I do.
You wrote this book called, in 2009, How Barack Obama is Bankrupting the U.S. Economy. Tonight, do you want to change the name right over and put Donald Trump? I can give you a black Sharpie.
No.
I can get you a Sharpie.
No.
And you can put Trump.
Because there's a
big... Why? $22 trillion in debt.
Because there's a big difference.
$1 trillion deficit. There's a big difference. He's run up debt in a booming economy.
No, the economy...
That's even worse.
No. The last year that Barack Obama was president, the economy grew by 1.5%. Last year,
you know
under
very
Donald
well
Trump, we got
the fiscal year 2009, as measured by economists, was George Bush's budget. You know that.
No, it wasn't. Come on,
people
that's
can
pretty
Google
rich.
the numbers. Let me ask you about the Chinese trade war. Donald Trump said last year that trade wars are good and easy to win. He now says he didn't say it, but he did say it.
Right.
It clearly hasn't been easy to win.
Right.
And in terms of being good, don't these Trump tariffs on China represent the biggest tax increase on U.S. consumers in modern times?
Look, I am a free trade guy, and one of the things I first told Donald Trump when I met him, when he asked me to work for him as a senior economist, I said, Donald, I'm a free trade guy. He said, look, I believe in free trade. He said, I want a level playing field. We are in an epic battle with the Chinese that's going to last decades.
Don't the Trump tariffs on China, we can talk about decades-long battle, right now, don't they represent the biggest tax increase on U.S. consumers in modern times?
Well, no, because...
You say no, but those are your words.
No, wait a minute, hold on.
You said that. Trump's idea of a 35% tariff on imported goods would represent the biggest tax increase on U.S. consumers in modern times. Right. Suddenly you start working for Trump and that's not true anymore?
The average American family has seen about a $1,500 reduction in their taxes thanks to the
and most economists say that's wiped out by these tariff costs.
No, they haven't been.
They haven't. The New York Federal Reserve says $800
well, they're
per
wrong
household.
About that. You know who's bearing the cost of the China?
The New York Federal Reserve's wrong.
Well, wait a minute.
The Tax Policy Center's wrong. The Committee for the Federal
Do you think the
Budget
entire burden of those tariffs are borne by American consumers?
Not the entire, but a lot of them.
If that's the case, then why would China care? The fact is,
really weird
the people are bearing the cost of the tariffs are the Chinese.
I'm so enjoying this conversation because, Stephen Moore, you're arguing with yourself. I'm not the one who said, I'm not the one who said every quota or tariff imposed on the US hurts residents in the United States. Because all restrictions hurt the United States.
Right.
Tariffs have never worked, always end in an unhappy ending.
Right.
Those are your words.
So let me explain
So do you want to argue with yourself?
Because it's an important point. Do I think that these tariffs on China are hurting American consumers? Absolutely they are.
So why does Donald Trump not accept that?
Look.
He says the Chinese and not any Americans are paying the tariffs. That's a lie. You know that's a lie. You spent your entire life studying
What I'm saying is the bulk of the cost of the tariffs is being borne by the Chinese through depreciating their currency, through providing increasing subsidies to their companies, and when they do that, the cost is borne by the Chinese, not the United States.
Well, the people who've done the studies on this, Stephen Redding at Princeton, the London School of Economics.
Too, and I found that
with respect, Stephen Redding is one of the country's top experts on international trade. He's a professor of economics at Princeton. Yeah. He's saying all of the U.S. tariffs have been passed to importers, retailers, consumers. So what do you think? It's a bit of both.
Would you have supported having free trade with Nazi Germany or the Japanese?
So China is Nazi Germany?
Is
China Nazi Germany?
I do think we are in a new Cold War with China.
Was China Nazi Germany in 2015 when you said, why are we picking an economic war with China?
You don't care about the human rights violations of China?
I care about them. I'm wondering when you cared about them. Because in 2015 you didn't care about them. You said, do we really want to pick an economic war with China? Were they not bad in 2015? They only became bad in 2016. I don't recall saying that.
I think this is the right time.
You said it in a National Review article. China is our #1 import market. Do we really want to pick an economic war with them?
I think we should. Right now.
So you're telling off Stephen Moore of 2015?
We have to.
He was wrong.
We have to.
He was wrong.
And Donald Trump will not back down.
Stephen Moore of 2019 tells off Stephen Moore of 2015. Let's go to our panel, who are waiting patiently to come in here and join the discussion. Rick Wilson is a longtime Republican political strategist who has worked for George H.W. Bush, Rudy Giuliani, among others. Since 2015, he's been a leading, I think it's fair to say, conservative critic of President Trump, author of the book, Everything Trump Touches Dies. Now, there's a title. Rick, you and Stephen have moved in similar right-wing circles. You've both worked on Republican presidential campaigns. Who better represents conservative economic principles right now, you or him?
Well, look, I'm not an economist by trade or training. Stephen is. But I will say this, I still believe with the things that I think Stephen believed before, which is the primacy of free markets. And now we have a president who wants to tell companies what to make, where they can make it, who engages in state capitalism, sort of crony capitalist things. And I think Stephen, prior Stephen and now Stephen, there's a big dichotomy there. And I don't think it's Stephen alone. I think there are a lot of Republicans who have just made that compromise. So I'm curious, how does it feel to flip so fast and so hard?
Briefly. So look, I've always said, Rick,
briefly respond, and I want to
I've always said the single most important thing to reduce the national debt and the deficit, and I think it's an important priority for the United States, is to grow the economy, to put more people to work, to make more American companies richer and more profitable. Rick, we have done that in spades.
Stephen, you mentioned the economy is greater than ever before. I just want to bring in Jenna Ellis-Rivas, who's a constitutional lawyer, member of the Trump 2020 Advisory Board, author of the book, The Legal Basis for a Moral Constitution. Jenna, Stephen talks about this great economy. Anyone paying attention to the news recently and looking at some of the numbers coming out, there's a fear of a recession or at least a downturn coming, maybe even ahead of the next election. How does a self-inflicted recession, some might argue, given the trade war, how does that fit with the whole Make America Great Again message going into 2020? That's going to be a problem for him, is it not?
We want to talk about the Constitution here. Not 100% of economic factors can be directly attributable to a single president. And so if you look at the leadership style of Barack Obama,
that's
you
a
look
great
at the
point.
consumer
I wish
confidence.
Republicans had made that during the Obama presidency.
No, but I think but we did, and I certainly had. And so Congress is also very much responsible, and both sides and both
And how
parties
worried are you about a recession?
But I think that your point about self-infliction is also very, very consistent with what we're seeing with the mainstream media, who are so antagonistic against this particular president that they are the ones that are creating a false narrative. So I'd like to know what Stephen wants to say, and I'd like to give him an opportunity.
I will give him an opportunity.
To actually,
it's okay. I'll give you the opportunity to speak. It's fine.
Rather than trying to put his position so much
when
into
you say the mainstream media is
this
to blame
economy.
for talking about a recession, do you include the White House chief of staff in that? Mick Mulvaney said there might be a short, moderate recession next year. Is he part of the mainstream media?
There might be, but I think that you're trying to proof text and isolate these comments and try to spin them into your narrative rather than looking at the entire scope of the question.
Tiffany, I will bring you back in a second. I'll just take the last panelist and you come back and respond. Tiffany Cross is the co-founder and managing editor of the national news outlet, The Beat DC, a liberal commentator. You're shaking your head there. Do you want to come in and respond?
Sure. It's really clear that the Trump campaign is in full-blown panic mode because he's fallen short on some of the promises that he made in 2016 to help perpetuate this false idea that people voted for him because of economic anxiety. And, given this administration's kind of faulty relationship with the truth, why should anybody believe what you or any representative of this administration says when most of your economic solutions seem more based on messaging and attacking what Jenna calls the mainstream media and calling facts truth or untruth?
Math doesn't lie.
So
yeah, but the Trump administration does frequently.
Stephen.
I have not reversed course on the debt and deficit. I think the debt and deficit is a huge problem.
So Trump shouldn't be reelected then?
That we're spending,
Trump shouldn't be reelected then?
No, I'm saying.
Well, you said in 2013,
I'm not saying it's
people who run up trillion-dollar deficits should not be reelected.
Look, I think you have to look at the whole range of issues and what Trump has done on the economy, and I think it's been spectacular.
Let's talk about immigration.
Yeah.
Time's running out. People have called Trump's immigration policy dangerous, crazy, extreme, nativist. What do you say to them?
I say that we have to build a wall. We have to secure our border. I'm totally in favor. And by the way, I made to be the most pro-immigration person in this room. I've written books and books. I've written.
You were. You were. Are you still?
No, I'm totally pro-immigration.
So do you think Trump's policy is dangerous, crazy, extreme?
No,
do you think this dangerous?
I'm
just asking a question. Do you think it's dangerous, crazy, and extreme?
No, I think
those are your words.
Look,
you said I think Trump's policy is a crazy policy with a very extreme nativist position. It's a very dangerous thing. You said that in 2015 before you went to work for him.
No, here's what I believe. I don't always agree with his positions on immigration, but I do believe that until we get the border secure and we get that wall built, once we do that, we can increase our legal immigration. I am for immigrants coming into this country who want to contribute to our country.
He's not in favor of legal immigration. This is an administration that has backed legislation to halve legal immigration, that wants to accept zero refugees next year. They supported the Cotton Bill in 2017, wants to end the visa lottery program, end family migration, crack down on the spouses of legal immigrants.
That's just not true.
What do you mean? It hasn't?
Look, I helped write.
It's just not true. What do you mean it's just not true?
Because I helped write the bill. I know more about the bill than you do.
It hasn't ended family migration.
The bill
does
not end family immigration. What that bill does, it allows spouses and children to come into this country. It preserves the sanctity of our family system.
Everyone here has seen the president go off on chain migration, visa lotteries.
That's the whole point.
Those are all legal immigration paths.
No, but hold on. Here's what we're doing. We're basically saying, yes, an immediate family member you can bring in, a spouse or a child you can bring in, but not your second cousin, not your uncle.
How about your in-laws?
And by the way,
how about your in-laws? You're about to bring in your in-laws.
If they're, you mean they're elderly?
I mean, the first lady brought her parents
Hold
in.
on. Here is
under
what
chain migration.
Just so everyone knows what the policy is, because you can decide whether you like the policy or not. We want to have more high-skilled, talented young workers come into this country who will benefit the United States. Now, some people say, oh, that's a racist policy. A racist policy, that's the policy of Germany, that's the policy of Australia, that's the policy of Canada. Why shouldn't we take in?
I'm pretty sure the Canadians don't think you have the immigration policy.
Let's take the immigrants who are going to...
So, this was quite an interesting clip for me personally. One of the things that you will always see is people, Donald Trump bootlickers, that will consistently change their position just to align with the president. Consistently, you'll see it. You see Stephen Moore in his own book, in his own words, condemning so many things that President Barack Obama done. But now that Donald Trump was doing it, he's got absolutely nothing to say. Funnily enough, some of the things that it is that he said in regards to a president running up the deficit, Donald Trump has done that again since being back in office, and it hasn't even been a full year yet that he's been back in office. Now, I took a look and I done a bit of research to see and find out, where is Stephen Moore today? Interestingly enough, Stephen Moore recently resigned from his position as a senior visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation to concentrate on other work. Now, the Heritage Foundation, what have we heard about the Heritage Foundation? That is the organization that is heavily connected to Project 2025. Doesn't that say a lot about Stephen Moore and the type of person that it is that he is? Just some more examples of people that have said negative things about Donald Trump and then changed their position. J.D. Vance, just another example. So many people. Why is it that a lot of people that come around Donald Trump at one point, they were critical and negative of him, but now all of a sudden, they're big fans and they love him? Why is that the case? Could it be plain and simply because they're more concentrated on power? They're more interested in having authority? Could that be the reason as to why? Let me know your guys' thoughts on this clip down in the comment section below. The link to the full head-to-head clash will be in the description below this video. You can find it on Al Jazeera English, their YouTube channel, but the link will be in the description below this video. And while you guys are down there, do me a massive favor, hit the thumbs up button purely for the YouTube algorithm and give the video a thumbs up. I appreciate you guys, and thank you guys for helping us get to 75,000 subscribers. We are now marching towards 80,000. Please do what you can to help us to be able to get there. But I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next clip.